Hello grade 10s, this will be the last lesson for tariff systems. So today we're going to do drawing and interpreting graphs of different tariff systems. Okay, so the two tariff systems that we learned, if you want to follow by the way, it's on page 150. Okay. If you remember the two tariff systems that we used, we had the one where you had a monthly rate, so the cost was equal to the monthly rent plus the number of units used times the cost per unit. Okay, and then this is the first one. Then the second one, we had the cost was equal to the number of units used times the cost per unit. Okay, so now we're going to look at how these graphs look like with these formulas. So if we look at number one, we've got a monthly rent. So no matter how many minutes you call or how many watts of electricity, kilowatts of electricity you use or kiloliters of water you use, you pay a monthly rent, okay, if that is the tariff system. Now, by paying a monthly rent, even if you use 0 in that month, you still pay a monthly rent, even though this will be 0 because you'll have 0 times the cost. So this will be 0, but you'll still have the monthly rent, okay? So this is how the graph of that one will look, because if you say number of units used and it was 0, you will still have a monthly rent. So let's say that your monthly rent was 100 Rand and it was 2 Rand per minute. Okay, if you used 0 minutes, okay, then that would be 100 plus 0 times 2, so this would be 0 times 2 will give you 0, so this will be just 100. So if you use 0 minutes, you would still have to pay the monthly rent of 100, so this would be 100. Okay, and then it would start going up as you use your minutes or as you use your number of units. Okay, the second one, because there is no monthly fee, okay, there's no constant. So if we just have 2 Rand per minute and we used 0 minutes, then that would just be n times cost per unit. So that would just be 0 times 2, which will give you 0. Okay, and that's where we start. And then as you go up, then it would increase. As you increase the number of units used, then your cost will go up. So this is how the graph looks for if you've got a monthly rent. So you start at 100 or you start at 200 rent, because no matter how many units you use, you still have to pay that monthly rent. Okay, so that will be your total cost. If you don't have a monthly rent, then this is how your graph will look, and you'll start at 0. Okay, so those are the two graphs that you guys need to know. Then let's do drawing of a tariff graph. Now I've used an example so that we can know how to do this properly. So Tanya has a basic cell phone contract that costs 125 Rand per month. Okay, so there's our monthly rent, plus 2 Rand 85 per minute for all calls, so peak and non-peak. Okay, draw a tariff graph for Tanya's cell phone contract. So first of all, what formula are we going to use? So we're going to use the one with monthly rent, because she's got a monthly rent and then they charge her cost per unit. So we have to express this in a form of an equation. So we've got total cost, or cost, equals n, or rent, plus n times cost per unit. And then let's get a nice equation for this. So I want to know my total cost. My rent will be 125 per month plus n times 2 Rand 85 per minute. So that's cost per unit, so 2 Rand 85 per minute. So 2,85. Okay, and that will be my equation for my graph. Okay, so now we say we use the equation to set up a table of values, because obviously we need some x variables and y variables to set up our graph. So if I have my table at 0 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, okay, then I need to work out the cost. So all I do is I have, if I've got 0 minutes, 125 plus 0 times 2,85, and that will just give me 125. If I put in 10, I'm doing this quickly because you can easily put this into your calculator. You've got 125 plus 10 times 2,85. This will give you 153,50. 20 will give you 182. 30 will give you 210,50. 239, and 50 minutes will give you 267,50. Okay, so that's just putting it into my formula. Now it says set up appropriate x-axis and y-axis. Now let me choose what's going to be my x-axis and what's going to be my y-axis. So remember I said your x-axis needs to be your independent variable. Okay, and your y-axis will be your dependent. Okay, so now let me discuss what's my independent, what's my dependent. So I know that my minutes, okay, is independent because my cost depends on how many minutes I call. So if I call 10 minutes, then my cost will change, okay? So the cost that I pay at the end of the month depends on how many minutes I called. So my x-axis will be my n, and my dependent, my y-axis will be my cost. Okay, and now I just draw my graph. So if I go with my x-axis, it goes up to 50. So let me do, to make this big enough, I will go in steps of 1 centimeter. So I'll go up to 10 centimeters just for interest sake, or let me go up in 2 centimeters then. So, and I've got every 2 centimeters will be a point. So I'll have 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and 50 minutes. Okay, then I see I have to go up from 125 to 267. So let me go up in 50s on the y-axis up until about 300, then I can cover this one. So that will be, let me go in 1 centimeters. So I've got 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. Okay, let me put those in. So I've got 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. Okay, over here is my number of minutes. So remember to put this in, otherwise you do lose marks. Okay, and over here is my cost, and be sure to tell me that it's in rands. Okay, then I know at 0 it cost me 125. So 125 will be 125, it will be somewhere here, and my x is 0, so my point will start somewhere there. Then at 10, 153, so it will be about there. Okay, 20 is 182, so it will be somewhere here. Oops. Okay, and then you go on and you connect your dots as it goes, like that. Okay, so that's how you will plot your graph. I will give you proper graphing paper in an exam to do this. Otherwise, just use your exam pad, or if you do have graphing paper, please use that. Okay, so for after doing this, you can do exercise 3, and then I'm going to do some interpretation of tariff graphs. So if you take that example where I did Sifiso and Simpiwe cell phone packages, where Sifiso had to pay 100 Rand per month, and then it charged him 1.70 per minute, and Simpiwe was a pay-as-you-go phone contract, so she didn't have to pay rent. So I'm going to just show you how to interpret those graphs. Okay, so this is for Sifiso's contract, so he had to pay 100 Rand rent, and he had to pay the cost per minute. Okay, so that's how his equation looked like. Now, do you see at 0, okay, if he called 0 minutes, it would be 100 plus 0 times 1.70, which would just be 100. So do you see that it starts at 0? So if I give you, without looking at this equation, if I give you this graph and I ask, did he pay a monthly rent, then you would say yes, because it starts at 100, so it starts at a value. Okay, and then for Simpiwe's one, you can see that she did not pay a monthly rent because it starts at 0. Okay, so that's with interpreting tariff graphs. So after explaining that and in my introduction, you should be able to do exercise 4. Please let me know if you've got any questions.